Everybody, it's Joanna Phillips with Let's Talk About It. And
Tammy Warner.
happy Monday. Hope everybody had a great Mother's Day.
Hmm.
And
I
and now
did.
it's
I got to
and
feel the baby for the very first time. She did a nice big move for me, so I was like, oh yes.
yes. As always, like, share, follow. Thank you so much for all of your support and hanging out with us. And I know that sometimes these can be long. Today's going to be one of those days.
And they're even longer than what you get, guys. So
Exactly. Edit, edit, edit. So tomorrow night, just a heads up, or yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow night, the town board meeting starts at 7:45 p.m. You can watch it on live stream, hopefully after this podcast. Hopefully you will get your privilege of the floors. And remember, you have to send it to the town supervisor. However, when I do it, I send it to the whole board. So everyone
and
has it.
also remember your first privilege of the floor, it has to be pertinent to what's on the agenda. Or it
And
will
that's a little gray area, right? Because if somebody wanted to talk about, I don't
finances
know,
and yet something pertaining.
if somebody wanted to talk about, let's say, the events committee, because rest assured, I'm sure Mr. Modine's going to bring that up.
Hmm.
Technically, the committee reports are part of the agenda.
Exactly.
Just saying. So 7:45 tomorrow night. Tonight is the communication committee meeting at 7. Can be watched on the live stream. Hopefully this will be up by then. If not, again, hopefully you have some ESP. As Tammy said last week. All right. We're gonna try to get through this because there's a lot. Um, we're gonna just try to get through it as fast as we can with the least amount of edits possible. We'll see how that goes. So we're going to start with the agenda. And one of the things was there's a document in there in regards to changes to and I'm going to have to change my glasses, changes to privilege of the floor. It's just now, as Mr. Modine stated, it needs to be per policy. So they have now done a policy. And I'm just going to read you one paragraph out of it. Decorum. Person speaking before the board shall state their name, address the board as a whole, speak in a calm and respectful manner, refrain from personal attacks, and refrain from addressing other members of the public. The presiding officer shall declare any speaker who violates decorum to be out of order. Conduct of the board members. Members of the board shall give their full attention to the speaker. That never happens. They
Right.
may choose to respond to the speaker, but shall not engage in debate. I totally disagree with that sentence. You either are going to respond to everybody or you're going to respond to nobody.
Right. Right.
I just think that's crazy. Crazy.
Right. It's something we've been saying since the beginning, respond to all or respond to none.
Exactly. So we'll go in order. The committee liaison reports. One thing that came out of that, the new playground will be started on March 18th. Tammy will have her eye on that out the window. They're confident that they can get it done before the PAR program starts, but what if
And
they
they're
can't? Weather,
changing to
rain.
a pourable from the pads, the square pads they were initially going to use.
Yeah. So, which is probably better.
Oh, it's absolutely better. I just wonder, again, time wise. And again, it's all contingent upon weather as well.
So what if it's not done? Is it considered a work zone? Are the kids allowed to go there? Who knows? Hopefully we'll find out tomorrow night. So what else was in the committee report that stuck out to me? Outreach and Marketing Communications Committee. They have rescheduled the first community forum to May 21st at the community center at 7 p.m. It is considered a special meeting because the board is going to be there, the town board. The forum would appreciate if available town board members to be able to attend the special town board meeting that will be moderated by our committee. Um, Also hopes that other board chairs and committee chairs will consider attending so they may factually answer any questions that may arise from the public. We encourage town residents to attend. So here's the important stuff. Questions may be asked via on-site microphones or through provided index cards. Those who cannot attend and wish to have their questions read may send their questions to newlebweb@gmail.com. So newlebweb@gmail.com. Please limit questions to 2 or 3 sentences that can fit on an index card. The community center forum will be live streamed on Google Meets. There's also a link. Hopefully I can remember to put that up. And then available on town hall streams within 72 hours of the meeting. We appreciate everyone's patience and support as we endeavor to create a safe and respectful space for people to get answers to questions and concerns. So we'll see how that goes.
Mhm.
I am planning on being there, and I will bring either my phone or my iPad just in case there's any problems with the recording, so I can record it. So I do not. Oh, there it is. Supervisor's report, April 2026 report. Let's talk about that for a hot minute. Let's talk about that. This is going to be kind of a long conversation, but I'm going to try to cut some stuff out. So there was 86 pages in this supervisor's report, and I'm going to read you my thoughts on it. Um, what concerns me the most is not just the money itself, it's the direction we're going in with both the finances and reporting. We're going backwards. Last month's report had different detail that's not there this month. Although it was still complicated, at least it contained actual financial statements, including balance sheets, income statements, reserve ledgers, assets, liabilities, and clear due to and due from relationships. Pretty much this month, that has largely disappeared and was replaced with an 86-page accounting dump full of scattered transaction lines that the average resident, and honestly, probably most of the board members, could never realistically follow without sitting down for hours and reconstructing the town's finances manually. Yeah, I did that, just for the record. That is not transparency, it's smoke and mirrors through volume. I mean, there is no need. There's just no need. And I guess, someone would say, well, I was complaining that there wasn't reports, but we're not getting transparent reports.
The reports, we're looking for the right ones, not just, again, it's almost like when you ask a question in person and you get the huge word salad. This is just word salad in paper form.
Right. Um, the town can hand residents 80 pages of ledger entries, but if the important information is buried, fragmented, or removed entirely, the public is actually less informed than before, and that's exactly what happened here. The most important pages disappeared. The balance sheets, liability summaries, reserve fund pages, and clear cash position reporting. Those pages allows us to know what, and again, remember, we're talking money, not budget numbers. Money's real.
The actual real in your hand money, or
Money.
in the bank money, or whatever.
Yeah, in the bank money, not something that's on paper. So these are the very pages that allowed everyone to have a fairly good, not 100%, because they're still not right, a fairly good handle on what's going on. So at this point, all we see is a giant pile of accounting activity that almost means nothing unless you already understand municipal accounting. I think the February and March reconciliation sheets prove the point. Those are the reports that we should still be receiving every month to see how much cash is sitting in the VIP, which we do see on the first page. What belonged to general highway reserves, escrow, all the things. These reports, okay, so this is something that is very confusing to me. So in January, these reports showed that as of, the end of 25, the general fund was in the hole almost $1 million, 944,000 and change. But it showed all of the reserves fully funded. And reserves are uh the landfill, Ghost Road, escrow, the 45,500 for the park, the facilities reserve, the equipment reserve, those were showing all funded. Now there was nothing on there that said loans were repaid, but then in February, it shows that there was paybacks from the general fund into those reserves to make them whole. So clearly the month before they weren't whole. I mean, this is the convoluted crap that we're dealing with here. So the reports clearly showed that February reserve loans had been repaid. Um, you could literally follow that movement, but it still wasn't quite right because the month before it already said that they were whole, which apparently would have been a lie if they were not paid back until February. Um, oh, this is a fun one. The February and March reconciliation style reports mattered so much. Those reports accidentally made the money trail easier to follow. You could see what was owed, what was repaid, and when reserve balances were restored. This month's reports bury much of that information under page after page of raw ledger activity. Raises an important question. Was the reporting simpler before because the town wanted transparency, or was it being more complicated now because the clear reports made the financial relationships too obvious? And as I've always said, the issue is how much money is actually available after you move everything that already belongs somewhere else. Because right now it appears the town may have millions moving through pooled accounts while simultaneously carrying major obligations, liabilities, transfers, and internal borrowing relationships underneath the surface. We need to ask ourselves a serious question. If it takes residents hours upon hours of digging through scattered ledgers just to piece together the basics, how many people on that town board fully understand what they're approving every month?
Exactly. Going back again to something we've said from the very beginning. You need, if you sit on that board, you need to be able to understand those things. How can you make any clear, concise judgment or anything of that nature if you don't understand it?
Well, and again, as we've said, let's make it clear. It's not just the town supervisor slash
Exactly.
CFO slash budget officer. It's the whole board's responsibility, not
Right.
just hers.
Right.
These reports should make the town's finances clear. Instead, they're becoming more confusing, less transparent, and harder for public to evaluate. So it does show in those reports, if you look, that the general fund is negative $220,000, which is still not correct.
No.
If you take out, and it's funny that you never see a liability for the library money in there at all. So that's sitting in the general fund. So if you take out the fire insurance money, the money that's in there for the sidewalk, escrow, the T&A for payroll, what's due LVPA, the facilities reserve, the Ghost Road reserve, the park reserve, the landfill reserve, what's due to the comptroller from the court, to the library money, to the tips money, to the abstracts that are coming out of there. The general fund is actually negative $530,000. Money, not budget numbers. This is real
Right.
money, people.
Right.
We're
Actual.
just getting further and further and further in the hole. All right, so that's that. I mean, there's a lot more to that, but that's the general synopsis of that. It's just getting worse instead of better. I want to backtrack a little housekeeping. The drama club does have all of their stuff for costumes, with the exception of the squirrel ears, the squirrel tail. Also, the travel club is doing a fundraiser, Krispy Kreme donuts. If anybody's interested, I think it's $18 a dozen for the regulars, and I can't remember what it was for the chocolate glazed. I'll get back to that. If you want to support that, reach out to me. I'll
Regular
tell you.
are just so good.
I ordered 2 boxes. Well, I was being nice. I did order one for my kid.
Probably gonna have to order one because I haven't had a Krispy Kreme probably since they opened. Were in Latham when they first opened. They're not there anymore. We
So
sat in
what?
line for
And one
45
so
minutes.
and then I think they will be delivered on June 7th, and they will be fresh because they are coming from Krispy Kreme that day.
Awesome.
So anybody wants any of those things, reach out to me. The backpack program. So here's a fun fact. Last week I got a thank you card. And I just want everybody to know, just in case you get one, I got a thank you card from a school in Crown Point, New York, for our family's donation to the backpack program. I was like, wait, what? So I called Pat Messler on that, and she assured me that no, there was a screw up on how they were letting people know things. So if you made a donation through the link, it did go to New Lebanon.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows, it did go to New Lebanon. Pat and I talked about it. The backpack, the food bank called me and profusely apologized, reassured me our money went to the place it was supposed to go. All right, so the big topic, besides the financials, that's always a big topic. And I know that, I keep hearing, like somebody had said that, Mr. Modine is wrong that, we're $22,000 short. No, that's what the board said
Yep.
because of the interest. Well, guess
Yep.
what? You got no money in the general fund, you're not going to get interest on that.
Right.
Just saying. Again, we're talking real money, not budgets.
Oh,
So just keep that in mind when we talk about that. And this is part of what's going to be coming up. So if y'all remember, we've been waiting since last year about the feasibility study in regards to the water and sewer. The last thing I read on a committee report was that they were working some things out to make sure that the people that don't opt in don't have to pay. Now all of a sudden, this is back up for on the board meeting tomorrow night. I can go either way on this. Like again, we can give you points for yay or nay.
hmm.
There are some positive things that could come out of this, such as a laundromat in town.
Right.
So everybody doesn't have to go to Steventown. There are a lot of things that can be done. So I'm going
Now,
to,
wait a minute. You're probably going to get people say, well, we have a laundromat in town. How are we able to have one before and we can't have one now?
it's because of the water issues. I think I've asked that and I don't remember what the response was because originally where Stewart's used to be, somebody before it was Napa, somebody was going to buy that property and put in a laundromat because of some water issue
That would
that
have been
couldn't
a good spot
happen.
for one too.
So there was in the committee reports an update on the municipal wastewater. I'm going to hit the highlights here. Brief memo is intended to, this is from the New Lebanon Conservation Advisory Council, which is the CAC. Brief memo is intended to serve as a helpful overview of a potential wastewater system in New Lebanon. Health and safety. There are septic systems that are inadequate and failing in our downtown business district. That is true. Midtown Mall is one of them.
Hmm.
This contributes to the current reality that is unsafe for a significant number of downtown residents to drink their tap water. It also subjects the aquifer of the swamp and the Wyoming Act to elevated risks. So I agree with part of that. So here's the thing about this unsafe for a significant number of downtown residents to drink their tap water. The majority of those people already have filtration systems for the drinking water, just for the record.
Hmm.
Business and economic development connecting to a municipal sewer system will enable existing businesses to become more sustainable by lowering their operating expenses. Meantime, new businesses like a laundromat could begin. So, the one thing I've noticed about this is this is more focused on the septic rather than the water and the septic. I believe it was water and septic. And the one question that I have is if we do water and septic, where is the water coming from?
Right.
If we do municipal water, and I'm not just talking wastewater, we're specifically focusing on septic here, which I find odd.
Right.
So it gets a little convoluted when we're talking about, meantime, new businesses like a laundromat could begin. That doesn't really have anything to do with septic, that has to do with water, I believe. And then my question is existing businesses to become more sustainable by lowering their operating expenses. Is that business owners or is that building owners?
Right. Because there's a big difference between the building owner and the
But
business. Because not always is the building owner going to pass along that savings on to the business that's in that area.
well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, I don't know this to be fact. Like if you look at Midtown Mall or like the one where the post office is, I mean, that's all well and septic. So it's going to cost the business owner more money. And of course, because they were not paying for septic and water, but now they're going to be, they're going to pass that on to the renters. And word on the street is that the post office mall got sold. I haven't verified that, but I did get told that
Oh,
today.
really? Okay.
I don't know if it includes the Alpine side because they were two separate lots, but I'll do some digging on that. I just heard that this morning. I can't verify it. I can't say it's fact, but that's what I heard. I do know that that one was for sale. Okay, I digress. Engineering and operations. The system could be viable while serving a relatively small number of properties along Route 20, as indicated in the forthcoming feasibility study prepared by Lamont Engineers, which, by the way, it's been a year, we still haven't seen that, but I'm assuming it's going to come up. The system would leave solid waste in a septic tank on each property, and the district would be responsible for maintaining and pumping those tanks. The system would use small diameter pipes to carry effluent to the brownfield at the old Bouchard junkyard to be processed via leach field. That's right behind Coon Storage. Here's where it gets a little weird. Finances. None of the costs for this system would come from the town's general funds. Private property owners and grants would cover all costs, and only the properties that connect would be responsible for these costs. I'm going to keep going. There are two types of costs: debt service from design and construction on one hand, and ongoing operations and maintenance on the other. Overall, design and construction costs are estimated to be $5 to $6 million in total. So the first, if memory serves me correct, when there was a presentation regarding sewer and water, the total was like 14 million. So we're not even talking about water. This is just septic based on these numbers. Utilizing New York State and other grants, the project is anticipating roughly 70-80% of this total upfront costs. This is what gets me right here. And New York State could offer low or no interest loans for the balance. Who's going to pay that loan? All the taxpayers.
Right.
And also in that presentation, when they were talking about financing, there was two options: federal loans, but they had to meet a certain criteria with surveys. They did not meet that
Right.
criteria,
Hmm.
or low interest loans. Now, I do believe, I don't pay attention to the news too much because it just makes me sad, but I do believe that New York State just put, well, the budget's not complete, so we don't even know, but some money towards infrastructure. So maybe that's what they're talking about. Once again, I digress. Therefore, total debt service is estimated to be 35,000 to 45,000 annually. Each property would be responsible for an amount proportional to its estimated usage. Operating and maintenance is estimated to be $40,000 annually. It includes everything from administration through maintenance to equipment replacement. Each property that's connected to the system would be responsible for an amount proportional to its estimated usage. Who's maintaining it? Who's operating it? Whose responsibility is that? Do we have to hire new employees? What happens if there's a break in the lines? Who is responsible for that?
Right.
Is it going to be Pete? Who? Tilden Commons would likely cover roughly half the total annual cost of the system. As a result, a property with a typical single family residence would likely pay an annual total of $800 to $1,000 a year. Again, I want to remind everybody this is specifically talking about septic, not water and septic. The exact number depends on technical factors, especially which other properties decide to connect to the system. Most properties with a business would pay more depending on an estimated usage. Boy, that's going to make businesses want to come here. And again, look, I'm not shitting on this. There are some benefits to it. I totally agree with that. But what happens when half of the businesses don't opt in? Then what?
Right.
Legal process and background. The town would be represented in this process by Hodgson's and Russ, and there's a whole proposal from them too. Properties that connect to the sewer system would cover 100% of the cost of the system. Our plan is to collect signatures on a petition from every property owner that wants to connect to the system. Signing the petition means agreeing to pay a not to exceed amount, and then the system would ultimately go forward and only if these numbers work out. How long does the not exceed last for? What is that number? What is the
I was
not to
just going to
exceed
say,
number?
what's not exceed what?
And for how long? Because anybody that does anything with that lives in a municipality that has municipal water and or sewer, and I lived in Massachusetts, your rates usually go up every year. How do we get around that? Properties that do not connect to the system will
Excuse
not
me.
pay a penny for it. However, some properties that do not connect may need to be in the district. That's because state law requires that properties in a district must be contiguous. There can be no missing teeth in a district. Totally makes sense. Properties that wait to connect at a later date would likely pay a fee to do so. But see, that's not what was said before. Because the last meeting that there was about this was that even those that don't connect will have to pay a fee. As background, state law has several requirements for a proper petition. A majority of assessment weighted owners must sign. I don't even know what that means. A majority of owner residents must sign, and all these signatures must be notarized. The group of requirements acts as a limit on the number of properties that can be in the district but not connect. So what if 60% don't want to connect?
Right.
There's so many open questions on this. At its June meeting, the town board received the petition from to form a sewer district and handle seeker. The town is the lead agency for seeker, having made that declaration in February of 2025. I need to look at that. That was a question I had this morning. Lamont Engineers and Hutch and Russ will support this process, with Lamont Engineers leading the town board through the seeker questions. Are we going to have the feasibility study by then? Why would we do any of this without the feasibility study? I don't know. At its July meeting, the town board would pass a bond resolution. I don't understand what the bond resolution for is, though. Why are we bonding anything? And would authorize grant applications, including one to the state's Environmental Facilities Corporation. Lamont Engineers would do the work to submit any grant applications at no cost to the town. Creating the district and passing a bond resolution are required to apply for state grant funding, but doing so absolutely does not commit the town to proceeding with the construction of the system. Rather, the system would go forward if and only if the town receives all the grant funding necessary to meet everyone's not to exceed costs. There's something really important that everybody needs to know. And I'm not necessarily against the water and sewer. There are definitely some really good points, and I know it's going to be, oh, because this is because of the Tilden projects, et cetera, et cetera. This has actually been talked about for years and years and years before the Tilden project was even a twinkle in anybody's eye. I'm just saying, if you take a sit back and look at it, you could give a case either way. But here's something that really important that I think needs to be said. If there is already documented contamination, failing systems, groundwater concerns, or other verified environmental or public health issues, then the residents need to understand that there's a real possibility the state could eventually require corrective action. That's all that stuff's already documented, just for the record. Creating a water or sewer district by itself does not automatically force construction, but once contamination and health concerns are officially documented, agencies like the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the Department of Health have authority to intervene to address those problems. That can include pressure on the town to move forward with infrastructure solutions if the agencies determine existing conditions are harming public health, drinking water, or the environment. Those things are already documented. I mean, and it's true. Residents should also understand that once a district is formed, engineering studies are completed and findings of need exist in official reports. The framework for future action is already established. Even if funding fails now or a project stalls, those documents do not disappear. If conditions worsen or regulators determine the contamination issue is serious enough, the state can push much harder for municipal water or sewer infrastructure later. The authority would come from the contamination and public health findings, not merely because the town created a district, but the existence of the district and prior studies can make future action easier to justify and implement. This is why the details in engineering reports, environmental findings, contamination studies, and Department of Health or DEC correspondence matters. Those records can become the basis for future enforcement, grant requirements, consent orders, or infrastructure mandates. Residents deserve to understand it's not just about the project being discussed today. It can affect future decisions for years depending on how severe the documented issues become. So it's going to happen one way or the other, rest assured. And again, there's pros and cons to both.
Mhm.
I'm on the fence until we get more information. I'm not going to get into all this, but there is the letter from Hodgson Russ that says everything that they're going to do, what we're responsible for. And this is just the sewer district, which doesn't make any sense to me. Because if we're going to do water and sewer, why are we only focusing on sewer? And I know y'all are going to say it's because it's still projects. There is problems with the septics on Route 20. I will say that. All right, so that went quicker than I thought it would. So hopefully everybody understands that. And again, my problem is we hear nothing about this, and all of a sudden now here we are. And this focuses on septic. What about the water? And if we do the water, where is it coming from? My guess is the springs. That's my guess. All right, moving on. We did the feasibility study. This is under old business. Authorization to sign two proof of loss statements for highway garage fire. I pray to God that nobody signs these documents until you have unless there is something in these documents that says that this isn't final, and if there's more problems and you need more money, we'll give it to you, to put it in layman's terms. So I'm a little worried about that. Community center usage for summer camp water treatment required. I'm going to assume that they're going to move forward with that because last I knew that they needed engineering reports. Maybe they waived that. I'm not sure. I think that's coming out of ARPA funds. Oh yeah, I forgot to add ARPA funds to my money that's already pre-authorized. So that 530 is now 550 that we're in the hole. Just saying. Highway 284 agreement amendments. So before the highway department can put in for tips money, they have to make a whole list of what they're doing on what roads and when. Based on the winter, based on the really muddy spring, those things can change. So this is, I would assume, an amendment just to change what the highway superintendent is planning on doing. Alternate planning board member, letters of interest received, ethics board vacancy, letters of interest received, comprehensive plan committee, letters of interest received. That was me. Revenue loss for 2026, expenditures need to be cut. So she gave us a whole list of expenditures that were to be cut. And I mean, I could be crazy, but I could have sworn that events committee meeting that she was at 1,400, but now it's only at 775. Long story short, total to be cut is $10,758, which, as we know, we're looking at a $22,000 loss, which is absurd to me. Um, so there's, another 11,000 that needs to be found. It still doesn't take care of the deficit that the general fund is in. I will die on this hill. I mean, I just don't know how to get through to people that
I
stop
know.
looking at the budget. Stop listening to the word salads. Look at the actual
Exactly.
money. Money. Okay, so policy review, investment policy and electronics records policy, another policy they have to review every year. The retirement resolution, just how many hours per month that people that are in the retirement fund can claim. Okay, authorizing expenditures from town facilities capital reserve fund. I will say kudos to the board finally for actually doing this the right way. This is how any money that came out of reserves should have been done, and it wasn't. So when we see that there was general fund repayments to all of these reserves, it was not criminal, but illegally done, because you need a resolution to take money out of a fund that is already created for something else that never happened. It's happening now. So they want to move $100,000 out of the facilities reserve to cover our cost of the new park playground. Weird to me, because again, we're taking, I mean, it's total legit. You can do it, but we're taking money out of a reserve account in my mind, which I'm going to just mention the town garage again. We could use some of that facilities reserve to kind of help out over there for things that the insurance company might not cover. So
There you go.
rather than taxpayer money, the taxpayer portion of this, we're just going to take it out of one of our reserves. Right, because we don't have any money in the general fund. So we are doing it the proper way. I still don't understand how we went from 80-20 to 75-20%, 75-25. And this is what should have been happening all these years that we've been using reserve funds.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the town's permission to use those funds. So I will go back to what the town supervisor said at a budget meeting. I don't spend the money, the town board does. Our town board didn't know that money was being spent.
Right.
This is what spends that money. So kudos to that. That's finally being done properly. The task tracking program. I'm sure if I look back, I can find more than this, but was it the last board meeting or the board meeting before, or a board meeting? I believe. Didn't she talk about contacting Beacon Bank to see if they do municipalities?
Oh, yeah.
That's not on the task list. Has that been done? I don't know. What else isn't on the task list? I don't know that either. Yeah, I think we're done with that. I think, let me just make sure. Let me just double check my notes. So I think that's going to cover it for us today. We will see you on maybe Wednesday, but probably
Wednesday or
Thursday,
Thursday.
because we'll record on Wednesday after the board meeting tomorrow night. Again, 7:45 p.m.
Yes, remember that. And your
Yes, remember
privilege of
that.
the floor.
And get your privilege of the floor. And remember, it's going to go to the town supervisor. I always just send it to the whole board. I will be putting in a privilege of the floor. So that's it. Thank you for your time. Let us know if you made it this far in the video. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you in a couple days.
Bye-bye.